Da, 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 da. That's not actually our theme tune.
It could be.
Run CPOD. Press enter to begin.
Good evening and welcome to the all brand spanking new tech podcast. This is CPOD. I am your host Dorian, along with my co-host
Elliot. Hello.
It's our very first podcast, so please be gentle with us. This is our podcast mainly about tech and games. I'm the kind of guy that's kind of stuck in the past, whereas Elliot is way more ahead with latest tech and stuff like that. So this is exactly what this pod's all about. It's just us nerds talking tech, really. So yeah, as I said, my name's Dorian, and I'm one of your hosts, and Elliot is our co-host for the evening. I say for the evening, he's permanently with us. I can't get rid of him. It's been 17 years. Has it been 17 years? How long's it been, man?
Something like that. It's got to be 17, 18 years. It's got to be something crazy, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's. I've known you practically like half my life now. That's the insane thing.
That's saying something, because you are quite old, really.
Shut up, you're not that far behind. All right, so we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. Take it away, my man.
Yes. Yeah, so we thought we'd do a little bit of a background on us. So, you know, why are we doing another tech podcast? Because there's a plethora of them out there. So basically, myself and Dorian, we've been making YouTube videos, sketches, ideas for over 10 years. We really like to sort of talk about the things that we find passionate or record them. So we've got a YouTube channel, Cursive the Enthusiast, so that's where we've done all sorts over the years, and we generally try to sort of sprinkle a bit of humour on anything we're doing, and if anything, you know, it's quite nice for us just to go back and listen to these things or watch them, you know, many years in the future. So we thought we'd do a CPOD, so Cursive Enthusiast podcast, CPOD. It seemed like it worked, so hopefully you find it interesting. We're going to talk about, as Dorian said, all sorts of games, tech, you name it, really. So I guess, keeping things short and sweet, going into that, Dorian, what have you been playing?
Well, so I have a plethora of consoles, mainly PlayStation. I've got almost every PlayStation under the sun. I've been trying to get a little bit back into my Mega Drive now as well. And so, on my PS5, I think I'm getting close to completing Death Stranding 2. You've never played Death Stranding, have you?
Ooh. I've played the first one. I got to a certain part where I was walking on a ladder someone had put down for me, which I thought was quite cool, and then something started shooting at me, and it was like, hang on, this was like a cozy walking simulator. What's happened?
It gets pretty damn stressful. It is a walking simulator, but it's a game that's good to zone out with. It's not to say that there's no action, because it does get sort of very action packed, and it's a Hideo Kojima game, so there's some very odd things that happen throughout the game. And yeah, it's also very network based, both in the game and in real life. So you don't interact with any players directly, but anything that other players have left down in their game is left for you in your game as well. So it's brilliant in that regard. And the story is genuinely interesting. It's something very, very different, and I've been enjoying that thoroughly ever since the first one came out. So I've been playing that on my PS5. But what else have I been playing? A little bit of Need for Speed Carbon on my PS2.
Ooh.
That's a nice one to go back to every now and then. But yeah, my Mega Drive. I'm trying to look for new things to play on my Mega Drive. I tend to keep going back to the games that I used to play as a kid, but I've got that hankering at the moment for playing something new, discovering something new on an old console. I think that's what I want to try and have a go at doing at the moment, just buying something random and going, you know what, let's give this a try, because yeah, it's old, but I've never done it before.
Have I got the game for you? Hurdy-gurdy.
Oh my, I remember you buying that from one of the... was that Blackpool Play Expo?
Yeah, Blackpool Play Expo in the strange venue that is Blackpool.
Oh god,
Play
yeah.
Expo.
The exposition itself is great. It's a load of fun. Don't ever go to the hotel that it's set in Blackpool if you can help it. It's a weird building. Think the mansion in Resident Evil.
You know, I was going to make that connection, and I've not even played many of the Resident Evil games, but yeah, that is spot on.
It's a very haunted place to be. So That's what I'm playing at the moment anyway. Yeah, mainly bit of Need for Speed, bit of Death Stranding too. How about yourself? What are you currently playing at the moment?
Well, I've literally just completed the Halo Infinite campaign. Which I think was just phenomenal. Just absolutely brilliant. So the strange thing is it feels like a Halo game, and then all of a sudden you're just flung into kind of an open world environment, which put me off. I stopped playing this years ago because I was like, well, this isn't Halo. This doesn't feel right. And then just completely got hooked into it. And first game in a long time I've actually 100%ed. So just done all the little side missions, everything that you could do. Other than that, the Hellblade series, so I completed Hellblade 1 and 2 pretty much straight after one another. And that is just again, incredible.
Those
incredible
games look
experience.
so good. I think I've played roughly, I don't know, maybe the first 15-20 minutes of Hellblade 1. I think I got to a puzzle, I got into a bit of a fight. It was mainly the visuals of that blew me away, because similarly to Death Stranding, it does feel a little bit like a walking simulator, but it's not an open world walking simulator. It's a bit like Dear Esther. It strikes me more as a piece of art than anything else.
Some of the combat gets quite intense, but as I'm sure we'll talk about at different times. So my wife Lauren, she loves sort of the Dark Souls, the Elden Ring, those sort of games. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're connected in this, that we're like, we don't have time for that. Those sort of things. It just, if I have to rub my face up against a wall, I won't play it. I'll just hit that point where I've just, So the combat's quite balanced. It's kind of challenging enough, but on the easy setting, you know you're doing something wrong, but it's not game over. It'll kind of penalise you just for a moment, and it meant that I could carry on playing it. It felt seamless, sort of like a movie.
Yeah.
Whereas if it just says game over, my immersion's kind of gone. So really good.
I just want to backtrack for a second there and notify our audience that you are recently married. The whole my wife thing is not new. You've been married since August, and I don't know how it feels for you, but even for me, it still feels weird to hear you, my oldest friend, go, my wife. And it doesn't sound like it's serious. It sounds like you're starting a poor joke, a very bad joke.
Well, the scary thing, I think, was the photographer who was there. I mean, you should have seen him.
Pardon? Say what? Go on. Carry that on.
I think, what a place to do this on the podcast, but I think I need something to RSVP to your wedding, actually. We're going to be there.
Nice.
But am I right? It was right in saying, by the way, in regards to sort of the Dark Souls games, are you kind of the same as me? I think we're on the same path as that.
I understand the appeal of the Dark Souls game. It's the challenge, but it's just far too challenging for me, because I played Demon Souls on my PS3 years and years ago. I say played. Attempted to play. Couldn't get the hang of it, so I uninstalled that. And then, one of the first games I got for my PS4, because it came with it, was Bloodborne. And I thought, oh, great, everyone's raving about this. And after about 4 hours, I just about managed to get to the very first gate with the first troll thing in the front of it. But I understand that that's realistically the first 20 minutes. So I uninstalled that as well. I am awful at the Souls games. So I get it, but it's just far too hard for me. If I'm playing a game, I want a challenge, but I don't want to wreck my machinery trying to play the damn thing.
I completely agree. I can appreciate it. It's one of those games that I think that there's certain games where I almost want to watch a friend play it, or want to watch someone, maybe a streamer or something, play it, because I can appreciate it. I want to enjoy it, but I just don't have the patience. I do not have the patience for that. But yeah, good. I just didn't want to assume that that's exactly. I'm sure we'd spoken about that.
Yeah.
So I guess that moves us on to our next point.
Which
that's for me. To me, it's that's mine.
Come on, man, stick to the script.
As if we've planned this. So that then falls onto what sort of, I guess you've spoken about it briefly then. So what sort of consoles or game libraries have you been using? Like Steam, Epic Games Launcher, PlayStation, what sort of thing have you been using?
I've got loads of... I don't have loads and loads of consoles. What I've been doing is I've been trying to make a collection, but only a collection of the things that genuinely interest me. So I'm not one of these guys that's going to go, I have to own every Mega Drive game that was ever released. Nah. If it interests me and I want to play it, then great. I'll go out and buy it as long as it's within a reasonable price. But yeah, I don't need to own everything. So I have I've got the Mega Drive. I'm using the one that you got me years ago because I think my old one, my very first one, is just about ready to give up the ghost, and it's got a cracked shell, and I've fixed it God knows how many times. I've also got the Mega Drive Mini. I've got the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, PSP, PS Vita, PS5, a PS1 Mini, every PlayStation under the sun. The only one I don't have, to be fair, is a PSX, and I don't need that. I'm all good. I don't tend to buy PS Plus though, well, not anymore anyway, so I'm not on that sort of streaming service. But speaking of Epic Games, I am subscribed to them, and they give away some fantastic free games every month, because I've got things like Alien Isolation, Sonic Mania. What was another one that I got from there recently? Was it Planet Zoo or something daft like that? No, Jurassic Park. It was Jurassic Park Evolution. And I didn't have to pay a thing. All I had to do was subscribe to their mailing list, and they give away really good games every month. They're incredible. And of course,
I've had quite a few from there as well.
Yeah, they're
doing the same thing. The free games.
They've got some fantastic stuff on there. But yeah, I have been umming and ahhing about getting PlayStation Plus again recently, but I don't really game online much anymore. Being a dad, it's impossible to get the time. So by the time I've sort of settled down and had my tea and the boys in bed, it's 8:30 in the evening and my eyes are closing. So getting some genuine gaming time and some dedicated gaming time nowadays is quite difficult to do. But I manage it every now and then, 20 minutes here or there.
I think there's also just a thing as well as you get kind of older. I never understood this when I was younger, but I mean, we, our children or child is mostly a big furry ginger Labrador and a cat. But I find that I've got less time to play online competitively because ultimately, a lot of the time, rather than being skill based, it feels nowadays like it's more time based. So if you've got more time at it, you're going to be better at it. So it's not a skill versus skill. It's do you have to get up for work and or can you sit there and play that game for 12 hours? So it just doesn't seem as fun as it used to. So I'm kind of the same as you. I like to sit down for an experience.
Yeah, I do feel like it is one of those where if you dedicate the time to it, you will get better and you will improve your skills, which is why it's so much more difficult for us as adults versus kids who, they get home, they do their homework. By the time they've finished everything, it's about 4 or 5 o'clock, and they think, oh, great, I've got until about 10 o'clock in the evening to absolutely, launch myself into Fortnite or whatever the kids are playing nowadays. I'm still on Minecraft. But
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I still love me some Minecraft. It is the ultimate cozy game if you just want to sit down and build whatever you want.
Well, don't get me started on Planet Coaster. That's been a recent time sink for me.
Planet Coaster? I don't think I ever played that.
Yeah, so I think Planet Coaster 2 is more recent. Just another, basically like a theme park sort of management, but it's really good. Really good. Recommend it.
You started playing something else recently as well, didn't you? Because you were telling me that you've set up your Steam Deck to play, was it Guild Wars?
Yeah, so... well, it's funny that. So yeah, just keep an eye on the what consoles or game libraries we've been using. So I've been building gaming PCs for years, and I've kind of reached a point where my PC it was literally a doorstop. It had been disconnected for about 8 months, so I sold it because it was quite a new build that I'd done. So I sold it whilst it still had some value. So we then bought. We had the Switch 2, but I'll be honest, I haven't used the Switch too much. I'm kind of waiting for them to release another Xenoblade. We then bought 2 Xbox Series X's, which are great, but then I kind of wanted to play handheld, so set up on the Steam Deck an ability to stream directly from there using an app called X Streaming. So that's been great. And then my head started to get turned, Dorian. My head started to get turned.
Oh.
And I saw the Xbox ROGLIX, which is a horrible name, absolutely horrible name.
It's a bit of a mouthful.
It is a little bit. But basically, yeah, it's the Asus ROG Ally, but the one which Microsoft have released.
Yeah.
And in the hand, it feels really nice because it's you've actually got the sort of I think people refer to as like the horns of the controller, so you can have long play sessions, and that's not on Steam OS, it's on Windows, and I think both are great, to be honest with you. There's pros and cons to both of them. But yeah, so I've been recently, it's the weekend, it's Sunday night at the moment, so Saturday and Sunday I've been playing Guild Wars by connecting that up to the monitors through a dock. So it's basically just another game PC, because it's quite powerful, to be honest.
Yeah.
In terms of like a APU. So yeah, a CPU, GPU combined. So yeah, I've been playing Guild Wars with a keyboard and mouse connected to a monitor, but on Wednesday Guild Wars Reforged comes out, which is where they're introducing sort of controller support. So yeah, that's I mean, I did a quick /age in game, and because that was the game I played as a teenager. I was talking about when you just did a bit of homework and then logged straight on. That was my game.
Yeah,
something crazy like 860 hours or something.
I saw that on your screenshot, and I thought, how does someone rack that up? That's an insane amount of time.
Straight onto Gemini, and I'm going, how many days? How many days is that? Like 31 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
like nowadays. That just. Yeah,
absolutely. Did you see that video of that kid on TikTok who was trying to work out how long he'd spent on, I think it was Rainbow Six Siege or something daft like that,
yeah.
And he worked out, I think he was in his late teens or early 20s, and it said that he racked up so many hours, and he got Google to calculate that he'd spent roughly 5% of his life on Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? But then I don't know. This is the tech thing, and I think you either get it or you don't. And for us, I can't drink alcohol. So going to a lot of bars, clubs, so that sort of thing. It's never really been my thing anyway. So whilst it seems sort of from the outside, I guess, a waste of time, it depends what your happy place is, isn't it? It's scary because you realise how fast time's gone, but at the same time, I think there's worse ways to spend your time. Quite honestly.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely, and you're not like I want to say it's better or it's worse for some people. It's not, because I did do that thing like in my early 20s when I went out drinking and going to clubs and stuff like that with friends and girlfriends at the time or whatnot. And it was... I don't miss it. I'm an old man now. I would much prefer to spend my time indoors gaming, and I did indeed spend much of my time indoors gaming, but at the same time I had like... my degree to focus on, something like that. Even in hindsight, I probably spent too much of my time at university on games consoles and not enough studying.
Far Cry 2?
Oh my god, Far Cry 2. That takes me back some. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that.
It was all of the people who made sort of there was a map editor, wasn't they? So they'd made things like it was like a roller coaster, and you drive the Jeep, I think it was, across the sort of a wooden roller coaster. And I think you realised that one of us realised only that you could shoot the other in the head whilst they were driving.
Yes.
Then you just ragdoll down. And I remember crying with laughter.
I don't think I've ever laughed so hard. If I did that nowadays, I'd probably pull something. But
yeah, me and you both. So I guess that then, yeah. So what consoles, libraries we've been playing? So you've been on the Mega Drive and the PlayStation. Is that right?
I have, but interestingly enough, this does kind of segue into what we're going to talk about next, because funnily enough, staring me at the face at the moment is a little gift that you gave me not too long ago, which is the Indigo Game Boy Advance. And I had a Game Boy Color. And then my dad got me a Game Boy Advance SP. I loved that SP. It died eventually, probably from overuse. I've reshelled it. That probably didn't help. And so I kind of got rid of it. And I wish I hadn't. I wish I could have fixed it up knowing what I do now. So I don't have access to my SP anymore, which makes me sad. But a while ago, you gave me your Game Boy Advance, the big one. And I love that little machine. I don't have too many games for it, but I've got enough to, sit down and play it for 10, 15 minutes here and there. It's also the only time I've ever properly played a Mario game, because I think I've got Super Mario Brothers 3 on there, and it's great. I love it. But no backlight screen.
That's the problem. We do need to get that sorted. I know there's now, I think it's more for the Game Boy Color, but some of the IPSs, you don't even have to do any soldering. I mean, we can solder. I can solder my finger very well.
Oh my god!
As we discovered.
Yeah, that was the funniest thing in recent history. It was just we went over with a couple of my PlayStation 3 controllers, and we were like, right, 3 of these are broken. Between us, we must be able to get one of them to work. So Elliot had just brought a brand spanking new soldering kit, and we thought, you know what? Yeah, we can do this. We're men. We're techies. We'll have a go. Elliot grabs the hot end of the soldering iron first thing.
I mean, in my defence, I don't really have any. But it was you know, if you're using a screwdriver and you kind of like, if you can't quite, you just sort of get, because it wasn't the actual metal tip of the soldering iron where the solder goes. There's a whole metal barrel, and my brain just thought hot bit at end, not the fact that it's all metal and, you know, conduction.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's
it was the sheer panic of you just getting up and going, oh, for God's sake, and you just ran off. And it was only then, after you've run off, that I'd realised what you'd just done.
SMRT, I am so smart. So in regards to then, do you have your eye on anything? Not your finger.
So
soldering iron.
Well, I was at the Doncaster gaming market, and there was one of the there was two stores actually, but one of them had the most beautiful Game Boy Advances with IPS screens, and I picked one up, and it looked so bright, so vivid. It looked like borderline a 4K screen just built into a Game Boy Advance with USB-C charging for about 120 quid, and I just showed it to Nadia, my fiance, and I said, I need to have this. If I had this on my Game Boy at home, I would buy so many games. I would take it absolutely everywhere with me. Because speaking about your Xbox RG, Ally, ORG, LGBTQ,
that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. It's a powerful machine, but that thing's bulky. It's heavy. It needs its own power source.
Do you know what? Actually, I will stop you there. I think you'll be very, very surprised.
All right,
I know your point, and I don't want to interrupt your flow, but the RG, that's one thing that you'll go, oh, it's actually really light, like really light, and because of how it is, and it's not that bulky. Yeah, the horns make that quite bulky, but
the horns,
some of the handhelds that are out there,
the horns. What's the thing got on it?
Well, it's like an Xbox controller, but you just slap the screen in the middle. It's like a PS Portal, same thing. You know, but everyone keeps calling him the horn, so I'm just, you know,
I'm
fair. A sheep. But I know what you mean though. Yeah, I mean, you can't put it in your pocket.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one thing that really intrigues me about, because I did pick up a Game Boy Advance SP for the first time in what must be 15 years the other day, and the fact that it fit in the palm of my hand until I opened it up, and I was just like, this feels incredible in my hands. The only downside is that I've got massive Frankenstein hands. So if I'm playing for too long on these things, my thumbs begin to cramp up because they're on these tiny little machines. But I'd still give it a go, because there is something so aesthetically pleasing about the original Game Boy Advance. And if I had all of the mods in that thing, then that was what I would have in my backpack all day, every day. Anytime I had like 5-10 minutes spare on my lunch or work or something daft like that, that's what I'd do. So that's what my eye is on at the moment. I would love to get my hands on a fully modded Game Boy Advance, because they look gorgeous, and you can swap out the shells as well, so it doesn't have to be indigo. I saw a really nice like semi-translucent ruby red one. That was gorgeous, really, really nice.
I would really like to get your hands on the Steam Deck, because EmuDeck and the amount of options that you have there, I think that would blow your mind. I think that would be. I really do think that, like me going to the handhelds that was my primary machine, I don't necessarily think that the ROG Ally, that I don't think the Windows handheld would necessarily be the best thing for yourself. But because you like to tinker with a lot of the retro stuff, the Steam OS, that side, I think you would have a whale of a time. I really do, and especially being a dad as well, being able to pick up late for a bit. I mean, being able to save states, and you know, it's we need before I sell that Steam Deck, we need to get it in your hands. I think.
I would definitely like a go. Yeah.
Especially because as well is Steam, whether Valve have created it, is everything's so modular inside. Like you take the back shell off, and you know a whole joystick is 3 screws and 1 ribbon cable, and that's the joystick entirely replaced.
Fair.
There's a lot of mods that you can do, and it's a very sort of open system. And I think with all of the games that you play, and especially sort of the generational leaps that you play in games, it would suddenly just centralize everything into one device that you could play anywhere. But it is bulky. It is bulkier. Yeah, there's no way around getting that. But then, as you say, that's the catch-22. They're really small, they're nice, you can pocket them, but the ergonomics are let's be realistic, terrible. Like, over time,
Yeah.
it's, no. No,
I do have. I've got a bit of a midway there because we do have a Nintendo Switch Lite, which has got some great games. I think we've got a bit of Mortal Kombat, Need for Speed. I've even got The Witcher 3 on there. I say it's my partner's, but I still have the problem, despite the fact that it's a bigger machine, because it's so flat. I still have the problem sometimes of my thumbs just cramping up a little bit, and the battery life on it's not that good either. So yeah, the idea of something a little bit bigger, but not too big, does appeal to me. It's just, I need something that's got like curvature to it. I've got the PlayStation Portable,
which it does. It does.
Yeah.
The Steam Deck does. I think you'd be impressed.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'd be down for that. I'd love to give it a go. How about yourself? What you got your eye on at the moment?
I'm kind of. Yeah, I think after getting the Xbox ROG X Ally 1 2 3 4 5 ABCDEF, it's kind of that's been the thing I've had my eye on for so long, and it took me such a long time to get one because they're basically sold out everywhere. It's really hard to get.
They were announced last year, weren't they?
I don't know. No, I think it was this year.
Oh, was it?
I think.
Okay.
Was it Sarah Bond? I think who announced them. Oh, I think you're thinking of the original ROG Ally.
Maybe I've lost track of them. There's so many now.
There is. Well, I mean, the handheld market is booming. As I think a lot of people like me are kind of doing the same thing. It's almost like it's not a replacement for game PC in a lot of areas, but for me it is. If you're not playing the latest thing all cranked settings, it's. But yeah, I think just a nicer dock maybe, because the dock that I've got is a JS Aux one. And it's built for the Steam Deck, so the ROG Ally and X come with a little cardboard stand that you can slot the console into, and then I've just got this Steam Deck dock that I connect into the back of it, and then have everything into that. So maybe something like that. But in regards to any of the consoles, because I've just bought that's kind of my latest purchase, other than a Garmin, because alongside all the cycling, which you can see in our videos when we've done over the years, I'm still into. I'm trying to get into running as best I can, and my wife Lauren, she's got a Garmin, and the tech wise on some of those, I really like it. They've got like an Instinct one, so it looks almost like a Casio G-Shock. There's no touchscreen, but it's reporting everything back to your phone. So tech wise, that's probably the next thing I've got my eyes on. The Steam Frame intrigues me, but I don't know if I'll ever pull the trigger on that. I don't know if you've seen that Valve's new VR headset.
I have. I'm not particularly well versed in my VR. I had a PSVR, the second model when it came out for the PS4, and it was good, but it just made me sick too often. I had a couple of good games for it because I had the Wipeout Omega Collection, which supported it. Star Wars Battlefront had a dedicated mission for it, and then they made Star Wars Squadrons. And I remember thinking that's going to be cool to be sat inside a TIE fighter or an X-Wing and fly those. And about 20, maybe 30 minutes in, I just started to feel horribly sick. I get motion sick in just about anything if I'm not driving it. So the that particular VR probably wasn't for me anyway. But I did see Steam's recent announcement, and I thought to myself, well, it's cool that it's all built into one machine, which is great because it means that you don't need every other bell and whistle to get this thing working, because it will just work. But then again, is it for hardcore VR enthusiasts, which secludes people like myself that do feel uncomfortable wearing VR because of the motion sickness? Or is it something that's designed for everyone? Does it kind of ease that and go, you know what, this is designed for everyone, no one's going to feel excluded, you're not going to feel queasy wearing this thing, you're not going to feel uncomfortable wearing this thing, it's immersive, it feels natural.
It's almost like we need to get a bit more hands-on with them, isn't it? So you can kind of work out where it's kind of been marketed.
Yeah.
I quite like the idea of have you seen the thing where, I'm going to butcher the terminology for this, or but essentially a system where if it's outside your eye line, so if you're looking directly at something, it will almost blur the things you're not looking at to save resources.
I've seen something very similar in a camera. For those that don't know me, I'm a bit of a camera nerd as well, and I recently went to my local camera store, and tried out, I think it was the Canon, it was either the R5 or the R7. And most mirrorless cameras nowadays have got like an electronic viewfinder with a light sensor on it, so that when you put your eye to the viewfinder, it will just automatically turn on without you having to switch manually between that and the viewfinder. And the weird thing was, the guy that was giving me the demo turned around and said, if you put the eye to the viewfinder and just look at what you want to focus at, the camera will automatically focus on it for you. And I thought, geez, that's impressive. The only downside was it was it was a little bit off, so it wasn't focusing directly on what I was looking at. It was going like a couple of objects or a couple of centimeters in the other direction. So it didn't quite fully work. But it was a really neat idea, this whole eye tracking thing.
But that opens it up again for people, I guess, a bit more like myself as well, because I know very, very little about the camera world. Admittedly, because if ever I do need to know anything, I've kind of got you on hand.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm less, why would I learn it when I can ask you? It's one of those, really. But yeah, I mean, I'm one of those who just sticks it on auto, so I'm a heathen in the camera world. But it's impressive to see that. I mean, I'm waiting for them to, if they do some kind of AR glasses, that's when I'll get interested.
Well, there's those Meta Ray-Bans that are out now that do something very similar, isn't there?
I think so, yeah. I've just seen the cameras on those. I just be, people walking around with the cameras on them. But talking of Meta, which is always in kind of the news for one thing or another, let's step into Controversy Corner. Is there anything you'd like to discuss? Do you got any recent controversies or issues you've had in the tech world, or anything you want to talk about?
Well, I'm not up on the whole metaverse thing. I'll be honest, I don't fully understand what meta even means. I'm the kind of guy that I much prefer old tech for its simplicity over anything else. I think the newest thing I own is probably my TV, and I don't use any of the smart features on it. I just use it to plug in my consoles and away I go. So this whole thing when it comes to meta whatever, I just don't get it. And maybe I do sound a little bit like an old man, but I do miss those days when technology used to be simpler. My phone was my phone, my MP3 player was my music, my PSP was my films or my gaming on the go. And now it got to a point where it all got very clever. Now it feels like it's getting far too clever. Everything's so integrated, and you can't do anything without adverts everywhere trying to sell you something. So I think the controversial thing for me at the moment is the fact that I've seriously considered putting my phone down and using it far less, because I'm getting particularly tired of being sold something every time I pick up my phone just to play a game or check even my emails have got automatic subscriptions to things that I might have Googled 2 days ago. I can't remember what it was I was even looking at. I think I was looking to see what discounts they were on Rode microphones on Amazon, and all of a sudden I'm getting subscription emails from Rode going, "Oh, by the way, did you know we're having a Black Friday sale on?" And I went, "Yes, I did," and there wasn't anything that I particularly liked, so I decided not to buy anything, but thanks for updating me anyway. It's
basically knowing that as soon as you go on, you're lining someone else's pocket through some sort of ad revenue, or you're being profiled and they're taking that, your data and making money off you, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's everything becomes very sort of, you're a number, you're an asset, versus when you meet up with someone and have a conversation, or, come home when the street lights come on,
It's beginning to get a bit mad, where everything's become so... It's as you say, people are just making money off your information. And currently that information is, where have you been on the internet? Great, okay, well, we're going to try and sell you this via that. It's I do feel a little bit like Xbox have kind of gone that way as well. And that's been one of the big controversies lately for many, many people, because Xbox have pulled out of the games console market, so they've thought, well, where's the next best place for us to try and make money? So they've got the little handheld consoles, which is in line with Asus, and you've got one, and they sound great, and as you say, if the market's booming, then they might as well. But more recently, they decided to start increasing the prices for online streaming and online play, which it's affordable, yeah, but one of the selling points of it was that it was cheap and easily accessible. But the moment you start bumping up prices, you'll start losing subscribers, because there are people that...
See, I find this quite interesting, because that is definitely that's what's happened, 100%.
Yeah.
But for me, firstly, there's Xbox Ready YouTube channel, and back in I think we're talking. I think we're back to like almost 2012 now. So before the Xbox One announcement, they were already talking about having Xbox where it would play on anything. So this Play Anywhere, this, you know, everything is on Xbox. They've been planning this for years. This is actually something that, you know, it's not kind of we'll just pull out the console market. I think the Xbox One accelerated that massively because, you know, they marketed it as a media device, which literally nobody wanted.
Yeah.
But I'm very much a case of where I've reached a point now where if all of the internet says something's bad, it makes me want to go and try it more and form my own opinion. And that's kind of what's happened with Xbox. So the cloud streaming, the remote play, the playing it on my phone, the playing it, you know, in a TV through a Fire Stick, it really appeals to me. And it's one thing that I really like about Nintendo and why I'm in a lot of Nintendo sort of communities and things. It's the inclusivity of everyone. And that's essentially what they're working on and managing to push. So I find it really impressive.
Don't get me wrong, I'm all for being able to play Xbox games on multiple devices. So, for example, if without owning an Xbox, I can play Xbox games on my laptop or potentially through my TV or my phone. That as a service, I don't mind at all. It's just the hike in price because they have. And that's what that's what bothers me the most about it. They've just gone, yeah, you know what? Let's just bump it up for a couple of quid. Why not?
For the sake of sounding like a fanboy, and also for someone who may know more, will tell me otherwise. The problem I think they did was marketing about that, because you used to have, you'd have PC Game Pass Core, and then Game Pass Ultimate. Now, yes, the price went up for Ultimate, but when you compare them side by side, Game Pass Premium has basically become old Ultimate Press.
Okay.
So Game Pass Premium has basically become what Ultimate used to be. So what's made it worse is it sort of made it look like Ultimate it costs more, but you get no extra features, which is so wrong, because you now get streaming at a much higher bandwidth. You get access to way more games. They included Ubisoft Plus and all sorts of other games. I think it went up to like 400 plus when they increased this price.
Right.
If you do play Fortnite, I don't. I've tried the recent season. It doesn't really resonate with me. But you get Fortnite Crew. So suddenly, actually, that Ultimate that you're paying for, it is more, but you get way more. So if they'd instead gone, okay, this is, you know, like Game Pass Core, then Game Pass Ultimate, and then Game Pass like Epic or Mega, something crazy like that, there'd be a distinction between the two. And if they defaulted people to the premium one, which would, you know, is what I'm saying is called the premium one Ultimate, and call what they now call Ultimate something higher than that, I don't think it would have been as bad. They would have been essentially introducing a third tier at extra cost, but you get extra features. But the way it was kind of marketed and sold is it just looks like a direct price hike. So everyone's just, you had exactly the same reaction, if not way more aggressive than yourself. So yeah, and I use the system really heavily. I've from being very PC, very Nintendo, I've now really headfirst dived into Xbox ecosystem, and I think that it works well. And all I'd say is if we can do anything, I'd like to encourage people to go and give it a go or investigate it, have a look into it a bit further, rather than following everyone's, you know, kick-off about it, which is still definitely valid, and I completely agree with you. But it's like, actually, that although it's more, it is offering more services, and those services might actually be relevant to you. You might be getting better value for money.
Okay, that's not so bad. I guess as a non-regular user, I have jumped on the bandwagon a little bit, where people have just been complaining about the skyrocketing prices. Sorry, my cat's trying to bother me here. Hi. So it's.
I think I'm definitely in a minority. Do you know what I mean? And I still think that is the most valid point. I'm in the minority of saying it, but that's how I've seen it. But maybe I'm just being blinded by it. Maybe I'm
no, not at all. I mean, I've been a PlayStation fanboy for years, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that PlayStation have done, but for some strange reason,
Sony Pony, I believe it's referred to.
Oh my god, I've never. That is insane. All right, yeah, I'm a Sony pony. Let's roll with it. But yeah, Sony have definitely done some questionable stuff over the past couple of years, but it's not stopped me from buying their stuff, and I think that's purely because that's just I've always said it's my weapon of choice. That's what I want to game on, so that's what I'm going to do. But there's certainly things that I've not bought into that Sony have done. but I still kind of agree with it because they do offer an excellent streaming service. But it's just a little bit too pricey for my liking. I don't think that a company that large that are constantly making profits needs to have a price that high. Whereas with Xbox, if you're getting more for your money, then fantastic. If they've actually changed their services to warrant that price increase, then excellent. And because I'm not so much of an Xbox or a user, I'm not part of that ecosystem, then I guess, like many people, maybe I have judged a little bit too quickly because I've not looked into the details of that change and gone, oh, actually, for the extra money, you are getting something a little bit more. So it is kind of worth it, especially if Xbox are pulling out of the gaming foray, as it were. Then they do need something to kind of tide them over, and they've said, all right, we need to be making our profits somewhere. We need to get paid somehow, but let's give the people an extra something in return for those increased prices, which doesn't sound so bad.
And I think that's what's happened, but yeah, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong at that equally, but I think that's exactly what happened. And ultimately, if that is the case, that's echoed by others that then go and looking, oh, actually, there is actually a lot more for that price hike. You are getting better value for money. And if that is the case, it just proves that the marketing was absolutely terrible for it. You know, if that is the case, if that's, you know, the same thing sung by other people, then it means they need to do something better. But I mean, the next console they're making is obviously rumoured to be a PC hybrid, much like the handhelds, because the handhelds just run Windows 11, but you have the full screen experience. So it's kind of a whole nice game library, and it although it's Windows 11, I don't know if you know this, when you're in the full screen experience, it holds back a couple of gig of RAM, because it stops all of the processes like Windows Explorer and things like that. But then a click of the button, you can exit full screen experience, and all of a sudden you're in full-fledged Windows 11. So it's really nice, because for someone who works in IT, I'm in that Windows 11 space all the time. So it's lovely to have like a wrapper that's kind of away from that. But completely U-turning, did you see the Sony monitor, and are you buying it?
A Sony monitor? I did not know.
I think it was at the end of the last State of Play they did.
Oh wait, I did see something about that. Yeah, the new they've designed a new monitor dedicated entirely to the PlayStation 5. It's not the first one that they've done. I believe they did one roughly when the PS4 came out. I can't quite remember. But to be fair, I think they've done one for almost every generation, because they had a dedicated 3D monitor for the PS3 when that came out. There was a PS2 with more to the point, there was
a PS2 TV.
Yeah, there was a TV with a PS2 built into it, roughly when the PS3 came
Philips
out.
or Panasonic?
It was neither. I think it was an entirely dedicated Sony TV. I think it was a Sony Bravia model. I'm gonna have to Google that. You know what? I'm gonna Google that. Let me have a quick look. I do remember it being called the PS2 TV, and I even did find out recently that I think it was in Japan or maybe even Australia. There was a CRT designed by Sony with the specifications to match the original PlayStation 1 as best as possible for the best, the visuals, the contrast, the colour. And that's really hard to come by. It was only a 14-inch monitor, but it had stereo speakers and loads of settings built into it. So I think, yeah, PlayStation have pretty much designed their own TVs from the early days to best match their consoles, which is a nice idea, don't get me wrong, but we know what Sony's like for trying to shovel accessories onto...
Do you think
the consumers.
This is something I've observed from because me and you we were very early adopters to the PS4. I mean, I remember when I bought it, there was Killzone and literally nothing else out for it. This is the kind of the trajectory that I see. New consoles are released.
Yep.
Sony smashes it on release. PS3 smashes it. Xbox 360, Red Ring of Death. You know.
Not necessarily, because
what I would say is
PS3 did have some issues with their very first model, because that had the orange light of death as well. They did have their own hardware setbacks. Not as common as Xbox, but yeah, they had some issues.
What I seem to always say is a bit like when the PS5 came out. The PS5 was, you know, an incredible success, and that's what everyone wanted. No one wanted a Series X. Xbox got completely shelved, I think, you know, majoritively speaking. But what seems to happen is Microsoft will release something that's not as good as Sony on launch. But then Microsoft continually improve it. Think 360. Think you went from the Blades layout to the Metro screen to, they really invest in that sort of roadmap for the product.
You know what?
Whereas even the PS5...
I argue that, because I've actually owned both. I've owned a 360 and a PS3. The PS3 had an advantage over the 360 in that online gameplay was free, and that's why I switched. Because it meant that I could play with my dad while I was at university because he had a PS3. However, I've been recently thinking about picking up an Xbox 360 because it was the better console visually. The Xbox 360 had achievements years before PlayStation did. How
was the PlayStation Network?
It was okay.
It was down for like 4 years, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was that it certainly had its own controversies when they were down because of a security breach of some kind, and it was that bad that they had to give away, like, I think it was a certain amount of money that people could use on PlayStation Plus on the PlayStation Store or something daft like that. Yeah, they've definitely had their issues, but I do remember the 360 out of that generation being the better console. Yes, it had its hardware issues, but once you were past that, I loved my 360. I would also argue I had the better controller. The Xbox 360 controller is the GOAT. The absolute GOAT.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
I'd high-five you if I could. Just easily the best. Easily the best controller. I've recently been hearing a lot about TMR joysticks. Basically how it's so accurate, it's kind of... need to try it. I've seen there's a few companies where £20-30 on Amazon.
TMR. Run that by me. What's TMR?
I couldn't tell you. Welcome to Tech Podcast. I think it's magnetic, like Hall effect, in the sense that you don't get stick drift. But it's also, I think, because I know it uses less power, and I think you can have a significantly reduced dead zone, so it ends up being more accurate, I believe. But
that's cool.
I could be wrong.
It's
the latest technology, I think.
Just revert back to what we were saying a little bit earlier about that PS2 TV. So I have found it, and it was indeed a Sony model. It was the Sony Bravia KDL 22PX300, and it was released in 2010, just a few years before the PS4 hit shelves, which is quite late to be releasing brand spanking new PS2s like 8-9 years after launch. That's insane.
But I want one. I want one in 2025.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I still do, yeah. Sames.
Let's go halves. I can have them on the weekends.
That would be fair.
Well, I think that probably wraps up our first podcast. So yeah, I think from me is, if anyone's listened to this and they've liked it, let us know on whatever platform you're listening to. We're going to try to get this, I believe, onto Spotify and onto YouTube. So Dorian the good man shall be doing the editing, and I shall be doing the PR, as it were, and get everything uploaded. But hopefully you've enjoyed it anyway, and thanks for listening to us ramble.
Yeah, thank you very much. We do genuinely hope you've liked it. We enjoy doing this kind of thing. We've been talking about this podcast for a while, to be fair, and to finally be here doing it is fantastic. The only thing that I would like to do more now is to sort of get it off the ground and hear from you guys, not only whether or not you've enjoyed it, but give us something to talk about as well. If you guys got any preferences in what you play, any preferences in the kind of tech that you use, do you have any controversies, anything you want to hear us talk about, feel free to pop your comments in, either on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you want. Let us know what you've liked, let us know what you've disliked about these, and give us a reason to do more of this, because we would love to do it, not just for our benefit, but for you guys listening as well.
100%. 100%. Well, thank you for joining me anyway. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we will catch you guys, hopefully, in another episode very soon.
CPOD.
Good night, guys.
See you next time.